Hello there, hope you've had a good weekend. Welcome to the garage, and I'm just going to do a quick update, he says, this week. Last week you might have caught one of the videos that I posted. I actually posted two, but the first one I removed because I wasn't really happy with it. But basically it talked about my wife's Audi Q7, which is dead, and it's deader than we thought. It's still in the garage, but I'll give you a little bit of backstory. Basically, last week, or the week before, sorry, I went out, tried to start it, and it did start, but the glow plug lights were flashing, and it went in, the check engine light came on, and it went into limp mode, which basically meant it had no power. So I ran the codes, and it said something generic about the turbocharger system, the boost system, and spoke to the wife, and she said, you know what, it's the family car, it's for the kids and the dogs and stuff, and for doing it, it's her car basically. She said just chuck it in the garage because obviously it needs sorted out, and we did put it in the garage, and we basically got told that it needed a new EGR valve, it needed a new EGR cooler, and it needed a new oil cooler. 12 hours labour and the VAT, and the bill was 2,640 quid ish, which was a bit of a nightmare. But it got worse. Now, if you go back, when we first got that car, we bought it in 2020. It was second hand, and we made a catastrophic error of judgment by paying cash, whereas we should have got the protection of a finance company. It was obviously second hand, but it was still a fair chunk of change. But we paid the cash because we had it at the time, and we're stupid. We did buy a warranty, which was a good decision, because for the first 7 months of ownership of that car, it was in and out, getting work done. It had loads of stuff done. It had the air suspension done. It had power steering pump. It had the EGR replaced. It had God knows. But the car also had an issue with the coolant. It was using about maybe 200 millilitres of coolant every few weeks, and we were just having to keep top it up. We've had it bore scoped, we've had it pressure tested, we've had the head gasket checked. No one, including other garages, has been able to find this fault. And after like 7 months of going back and forward, we just said, you know what, we should have handed the car back. Again, we were stupid, but we said, because COVID and stuff was going on, we needed the car. We basically said, you know what, we'll just use the car and see how it goes, and we'll try to get it sorted at other garages. We did put it in the other garages. They've tried to figure out what the problem was, and here we are. So basically, it's now in the garage getting these issues fixed, and they managed to find the coolant leak, which they've presumed was the problem, and they've stripped the car down, they've done the EGR valve, the oil cooler, etc, etc, etc. Got us to a £2.5 bill, and then went to start the car up, and it's still got the same issue. They've put a diagnostic on it, and it turns out that my little generic code reader was correct, and the turbo is indeed dead. The actuator valve has apparently failed and killed the turbo. So it needs a new turbo, it needs a new actuator. I presume they're separate parts, but they come in the same kit. Long story short, again, the final bill, we're not going to get much change out of 4,800 quid, which is a massive kick in the teeth, considering the car is actually quite old. It's 2008. It's only got 120,000 miles on the clock, but that's not the type of money that you want to be putting into an old car like that. However, having spoken to the wife, we've kind of come to the agreement that we wouldn't get the equivalent car for $5,000 if we went to get another one, and even if we did, we would maybe have the same issues again. So at least this kind of, although it's a kick up the backside, it's kind of it's warranted work, so it's kind of going to guarantee the longevity of the car going forward. So if we get 4 or 5 more years out of the car, then it'll be money well spent, because it is a decent car. It's a nice car. She likes it. The kids like it, and it's comfortable. It's it's got everything on it, and it has had a ton of work done to it as well. So, but yeah, it was a bit of a shock getting that flipping $5,000 bill. Yeah, so that's that. So hopefully we'll get that car back this week, and it'll have a shiny new turbo. It'll have had all the innards done, and it won't be using coolant anymore. So finally, we will get the car that we originally bought, albeit for an extra $5,000 on top. And last year it had the DPF replaced as well, which was another 1,400 quid. So yeah, it's had some money spent on it, and it is what it is. It's a thing of running an older, high spec, I say a luxury car. It's a Q7. Old cars like that, they're cheap enough, but the bills are the same as what they were when they were brand new. They're not cheap to run. But it has given me a bit of a kick up the backside, because I have my Audi A6, which has the same engine, and it's a year younger than hers, with roughly the same miles. Now, if I was to get that bill, I would just scrap the car or sell the car or whatever. I wouldn't spend that money on it. But it made me think that, what am I doing? I enjoy working on the cars. It's just the kind of the internals of the engines is a little bit beyond my sort of skill level, and I need to make it so that I can actually work on the cars and do this type of job myself, because a lot of that bill is labour and VAT. So you're talking $2,500 of labour and VAT. The parts are what they are, but if I could actually save some money, then isn't that the whole point of this channel? And isn't that kind of what you need to be doing when you're running older cars that are kind of out of warranty and stuff? So yeah, it's made me think, what do I want to be doing with this channel? Do I start buying sort of small cars to work on to try to resurrect them? It might be something that I need to kind of be able to do, and having a little dead car off Facebook Marketplace or something like that, and bringing it back to life might be the way forward to kind of get me into the zone of how to put cars back together, or strip them down and how to put them back together. I mean, I can do the basics. I can do suspension work, I can do brakes, I can do basic things like changing alternators and stuff and belts, but actually digging down into the engine to replace the innards is well beyond my skill set. So yeah, for the benefit of the channel, it might be something that I actually look into doing. And obviously, if I'm, like I say, continuing to run all the cars myself, then I'll never have to worry about massive bills like that again. So yeah, it's kind of lit a fire up my backside that I kind of want to be doing some more in-depth work on the cars. So there are some plans in progress. I'm gonna try and get my hands on a dead car from somewhere and try to bring it back to life. However, let's push that to one side, because this car, the Celica, upon which you are perched, has been running fine. I've been using it this week. The wife's been using my car, and I've been using this, and I've put a couple 100 miles on it. It's been pretty much flawless. I did do one thing. I'll show you what I did. Just a little bit of a recap. I'm sorry for any of the clicking noises that come through while I've got a hold of the tripod. I know how annoying it is, but yeah. So basically, as per my other video, I had to do the brakes to get it through its MOT. These are the old pads that I took off. Still plenty of meat on them, but the MOT guy said that there was an imbalance on the axle. It turned out that when I stripped the brakes back, it was just one of the pistons on the caliper was slightly seized, but I thought I would go ahead and replace the pads anyway. And it turns out these are a little bit bashed up somehow. I don't know if you can see that. So they needed done anyway. I did make the mistake of buying these, which are actually for a Toyota MR2. You can see I tried to fit them. There's a couple of grease on there. But yeah, maybe I need to get a hold of a Toyota MR2, because then I can do a brake service and it isn't an entire waste of money. Although that was a good bill. They were only like 20 quid. So not too much of a big deal. Couple of stuff there. But yeah, while I was driving it, I noticed that the car was a little bit hesitant accelerating when the revs were low, and I thought I would change the spark plugs. Here's the old ones. So yeah, looks like it's been running a little bit rich, but to be honest, it just needs a little bit of an Italian tune-up from being sat for so long. I had these on the shelf. These are NGK Laser Platinums, so they are in the car, and I've decided to get it back in the garage to give it a little bit of TLC. So I bought some wiper blades for front and rear. I've got some new headlight bulbs that I'm going to stick in, because the current ones that are in, I'm just going to turn you around. The current ones that are in don't really headlight very well, to be honest. They're a bit pants. So it'd be nice to actually be able to see where I'm going. So yeah, I'm going to. I've got these as well. This company sent me these Oxito fog light LEDs. The only issue that I have is, I'm going to grab you again. the fog light on the driver's side, the glass is actually cracked, so I need to replace that assembly. There's no point doing a review of fog light bulbs if the fog light itself won't light up. So I'll get that done. And what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, some basic jobs. Got a hold of you again. We've got to tackle these little bits of rust on the door. Just give them a bit of a sand down and a paint. It's all the way down the side there. It's not really getting any worse, but it doesn't really look very nice. And to be honest, it's just something I can do on a Sunday night to make the car as good as it can be. I'm going to give it a little bit of a clean because it's got some junk in there. Got some nice new smellies in there because when the car was in the garage, I managed to spill fuel all over the place trying to fill it from a jerry can, and the car was absolutely stinking. Been clearing the boot out because it was full of junk. Smellies again. I'm going to give it some hosepipe ban friendly stuff to give it a bit of a clean. Get some Rain-X on the windows so the wiper blades work really well. And finally, I've got these for my Audi, which are muffler delete pipes, which I've had for nearly a year, but just I've never fitted them. So I've got them to go on. I'm going to wait until the wife gets her car back, rather than take another car off the road, because no doubt there'll be some hilarity goes on when I'm cutting the exhaust. But I've got these as well for her car. These are, I can't show you, but they're basically side steps for the underneath of her car. So if it behaves, it will get them fitted, and if it doesn't, they will continue to sit there. So yeah, that's it. So I guess my plans for the channel are to kind of just try to start increasing my knowledge a little bit about the internals of the internal combustion engine, and try to fix up some cars that have some major problems, to kind of train myself in the art of resurrecting vehicles so that I never have to suffer this type of bill again. So yeah, fingers crossed. The wife did say, she actually borrowed the Celica. She said that she had forgotten how nice it was to drive a little nippy manual petrol car as opposed to the Q7. So she's not opposed to me buying rubbishy little cars, because I think she kind of has remembered the joy they can bring, especially when they work. And yeah, so maybe an MR2 is on the cards, and I'll get the brakes fixed straight away. So yeah, this thing's going to happen. I'm a little bit shell-shocked from that bill, but I'm trying to remain positive. I'm just enjoying the cars for what they are, and just thinking about how I can avoid this situation in the future. So that's that. I'm going to continue on tonight. I'm going to drink my tea. I'm going to put these wiper blades on. I'm going to give the car a little bit of a clean, a little bit of a hoover out, clean it up, and put it back on the driveway, and enjoy it until the Q7 comes back. So thank you very, very, very much for watching and listening to my late Sunday rant about cars and the bills associated with running old ones. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, do that, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.